Hello, every pony, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are pony related. Why? Because I'm trying to figure out something. Why is it so hard for comics to get Silent Hill right? It's a very rare thing out there. After watching so many car reviews, it seems like everybody who works on Silent Hill, and this goes for the live action ones too, want to turn Silent Hill into generic horror, complete with misunderstood monsters and a whole bunch of other bullcrap that just doesn't belong. Now, you know what Silent Hill is? Psychological horror. It's nightmares. It's the things we're scared of deep inside. It's something that fans seem to know how to do well. Like for instance, this next tale, Desperate Guilt by Wolf O'Donnell. Enjoy. Desperate Guilt by Wolf O'Donnell. Chapter 1. It should have been simple. They had everything. 35 liters of water, 20 kilograms of carbon, 4 liters of ammonia, 1.5 kilograms of lime, 800 grams of phosphorus, 250 grams of potassium, 80 grams of sulfur, 1.5 grams of fluoride, 5 grams of iron, 3 grams of silicon, and trace amounts of other elements. All that was required to make a human body had been theirs to use. For years he had spent hours on end toiling over the books, working hard for this one great achievement. Years of tears, sweat, and blood had been spent on the greatest achievement he could endeavor. Human transmutation. The floor was awash with blood. Pain sheared through his nerves. His brother's screams still echoed through his ears, reverberating in his mind like the angry screams of a tortured ghost. Was it his? He was still screaming for the agony of his lost leg. It should have been simple, and it was. He just simply failed to pay the simple price. One left leg in the life of his dear younger brother. Laughably simple. A trivial place to pay. Now move on. There's nothing to see here. Leave the little boy. Let him bleed to death, alone in a cold room, in a house with no family, where the memories are razor sharp. Move on. Where am I? It was hard to see through the mist, pure white as an innocent soul and intangible as his. His what? What exactly was it tangible as? He couldn't remember. The thought slipped off of him like a wire off a duck's feathers. Try as he might, he couldn't quite remember who or what it was he was thinking about. Something cold, really cold, touched his cheek. He opened his face with a hand, and it felt a cold, moist droplet. Thumb against finger. He massaged the wire into his skin and frowned. Was it rain? Well, it was far too cold for it to be rain. He opened his hand. A snowflake, as soft and white as a feather, fluttered into the palm of his hand. Melted there. He looked up. Snow? He wondered, but it's July. Slowly he grinned, a big grin on his pale face. Spread his arms and welcomed the snowflakes. Young man welcomed the cold that flowed down from the gray, morose heavens. He welcomed the flakes as white as innocence, as if he could wash away his sins. Footsteps echoed around him. They weren't his own. He looked around him, eyes darting wildly. Through the mist he could see a shadow, vaguely human in shape. It ran away from him, fled into the mist. Hey, wait! He called out. Wait up! The figure receded into the distance. Golden eyebrows furrowed. Hey! He called out to the figure, but it was no use. The person didn't hear him. Perhaps they were too far away. Maybe they didn't want to listen. Either way, they didn't stop. It wasn't long before he lost all sight of them. Still, it wasn't as if he couldn't just follow them. The road, though winding, was the only one there. To his right, the ground fell away abruptly. To his left, it rose so steeply, it might as well have been a wall. If he followed the road, he would see them eventually. There was no way he couldn't. It was inevitable. Eventually, he came to a sign that stood on the road's right. It welcomed him to Silent Hill. He stopped in his tracks. Why did that name sound so familiar? Had he been to Silent Hill before? He wondered perhaps he had. The site itself seemed very familiar, worn and grimy of old age. His letters seemed comfortably warmed with memories of a long-forgotten past. Slowly he smiled. He remembered now. A long time ago, his father and mother had been taken to Silent Hill. His brother had gone with him, too. He only been 8 years old when he visited the little town, and his brother a year younger still. That had been a long time ago, about 8 years. But he still remembered the days he spent there, visiting by the shores of Lake Toluca. It had been a peaceful town. He remembered the quaint little houses, so beautiful in their simplicity. There had been a fair when he had visited. He could remember the games. Al had won all of them, and he had lost all of them. But at least his little brother had been kind enough to share the prizes. Carousel, Ferris wheel, fireworks. Remember, he persisted. Without knowing it, he had walked the rest of the way. The town was quieter than he remembered it. It was unusual for a town to be so empty. Nothing stirred. In the cold mist, he found himself all alone. He saw no happy people. The bright smiles like sunshine made real, made life. There were no sounds. Where was everyone? He walked up to a little shop and peered through the window. Inside, it was dark, miserably empty. The shop had been confectioner's, and he could remember when he and his brother visited with their father and mother in tow. Father paid for a toffee apple, one for each member of the family. He could remember the sweet smile of the shopkeeper, how she also gave him a bag of Albion toffees. There was nothing there now. Look at this shop had been abandoned for years. The next shop was the same. So was the one further down. Each one he came across was deserted. The wares ruined with age. He didn't know what happened, but whatever it had been abrupt. Scum grew on cups of what might have been coffee. The cafe full of unfinished drinks. The cups stained with what remained, fungal growth thriving off others. The stench of decay filled the air. Slowly he turned his back on the shops and made his way back on the road, back the way he'd come. Shops gave way to houses dilapidated with broken windows, boarded up windows, lawns with overgrown grass, rotting, wicked pitted fences, glass roofs. How he missed all this. The mist failed to obscure the decrepitude. Yet it was getting thicker. The snow had stopped now. A presence hung coyly into the air and added to the fog. It made the mist thicker, till his vision was obscured with light. He screamed. His heart skipped a beat and felt like it leaped into his throat as the ground gave way. Instinctively, he reached up and tried to grab something. He managed to grab the edge with one hand, his other dangling his body. Slowly, he reached up. A crack sounded and a noise struck his very heart. It pounded furiously, terror welling up inside him, filling him, gushing out his eyes. The rogue broke and fall. Gotcha! Someone grabbed him by the arm. In the mist, he couldn't see who it was, but he was grateful. He reached up and grabbed the arm with a free hand. A maniac smile of relief on his lips. He felt his body ascending. His feet scrabbled against the vertical surface, against the clean-cut rock. "Are you all right?" asked the man breathlessly, as he knelt down beside the blond-haired youth. His breath was also ragged, as he knelt on all fours on the ground. "Yeah," he managed to reply, as he looked behind him. Still misty. He couldn't see beyond the thick white veil. "Thanks," he said gratefully. "You're welcome," replied his rescuer. "Name's Roy. Roy Mustang." "Ed," he told Roy. "Edward Elric." He looked up as he got back to his feet. "Thanks," he said again, redundantly as he straightened up. He turned again and tried his best to peer through the mist. "Could have sworn this road goes straight." "It does," replied Roy. Ed frowned. "But I stepped off the edge, didn't I?" he exclaimed. "Stepped over the edge, all right," agreed Roy. "What? But you said—" Fingers clicked and bursts of flames filled the air. It burned brightly in the mist, heating the moisture, vaporizing it, clearing the air. What What is this? Cried Ed in disbelief as he stared at the road. It's gone! He stared in disbelief at the vast chasm in front of him. The road ended abruptly, its jagged edges jutting out over a vast abyss. It extended to his left and right. The chasm cut through houses, through gardens, left nothing in its wake. I can't see the other side, gasped Ed. That's not the half of it, responded Roy. Just look down. Ed turned to glare at the man who had rescued him. The black-haired man's lips were twisted in a smug half-smile. Why? Take a look, responded Roy. Aren't you curious as to what could have happened? The blond-haired youth turned and looked down at the chasm. The vast abyss seemed to stretch out forever. He stepped cautiously back towards the edge and looked over. Peered over, down into nothingness. Down into a complete absence of anything. It was as if he couldn't see the other side of the chasm. He couldn't see the bottom of it either. It was as if the entire town had been torn free from the land and suspended in nothing. How is this possible? Cried Ed. I came to town this way. Roy looked down grimly, hands in his pockets. I tried every other road out of town. Every other road I could think of, he told Ed sternly. They're all like this. We're completely cut off from the rest of the world. This is impossible. How could something like this happen? Edward couldn't believe it. He just couldn't. When did this happen? He asked Roy. The black-haired man shrugged silently. But there must be some way of getting out of here. Ed protested, his voice strained. Have you tried the phone? They're all dead, responded Roy. He whirled around as he heard something. He began cautiously as he turned and faced Edward. I tried all the phones I could find. Not a single one works. Roy turned his head again. Completely off. There's no... He slowly trailed off. Stay back! He cried, and with a snap of his fingers, he shot out a jet of flames. A blood-curdling shriek pierced the silence. What did you do? Alchemy, responded Roy calmly. I know that, protested Ed angrily. Looked at the distance of the still smoking figure now slumped to the ground. What did you do that for, you bastard? He cried demandingly. Take a closer look. Ed turned around, anger in his face dampened with a perplexed fear on his brows. What's that supposed to mean? He snapped. Why don't you give me a straight answer? Slowly, the black-haired man shook his head. Wouldn't believe me if I told you. He replied, lips cracked in a strange, twisted smile. Even I don't believe it. He murmured under his breath, just audible for Edward to catch his words. He chuckled humorously. The golden-haired youth didn't like the way Roy laughed. He didn't like the way the man's voice cracked near the edges, strange dullness in his eyes. There's something wrong with him. He had twice this Roy Mustang one bit. Yet, who else was there? Slowly, he made his way towards the smoking body, away from the edge. His back turned dangerously to the man. He heads cautiously to the body slumped in front of him. Some fear nestled at the back of his mind, breathing ragged from a strange anxiety with no cause at present. He didn't know why, but he just knew that, somehow, he wasn't afraid to see this thing that failed to twitch. There just lay the corpse. A gasp escaped Ed's lips. What is that thing? He cried. I don't know, replied Mustang from behind Edward. He yelled harpily. Perhaps? No, it could be. It's forbidden. Turning made it difficult to tell, but Edward could see the thing wasn't human. Human in its shape, perhaps, but it didn't resemble a human. Not a healthy one, at least. Its charred skin covered everything from the waist upwards. The thing resembled a man wearing a straitjacket made out of charred skin, its face devoid of any orifices. What did it look like before Mustang rusted it to death? Slowly, Ed crouched down to the body, his eyes incapable of tearing his gaze away from the charged flesh. There are more of these things out there, am I right? He asked sternly, as he slowly reached out towards it. Fingers nearly touched the skin, but something, probably nerves, made him pull back. This town's dangerous, Roy told him. What could it cost us? Wondered Edward, as he straightened back up. Roy shook his head. I don't know, he replied. I just don't know. This place was fine less than 2 weeks ago. Then without warning, the place just... He sighed, ran a hand through his black hair. I sent my best men to investigate. None of them returned. Not a single one. How could he missed it? Edward was so perceptive. So how was it possible he had picked up on the fact that Roy Mustang was dressed in military clothes? He should have been unperceptive. Ed brushed a few stray hands of golden hair out of his eyes. What's wrong with me? He wondered inaudibly as he looked around him. Couldn't even remember how he ended up on the road to Silent Hill, let alone how he ended straight in town. This place used to be so peaceful, said Roy. His face drooped out to grim solemnity. Came here for my holidays. He smiled. The women here, he said. He took a little slow shake of his head. Let's just say you were very friendly. He frowned. Hey, where do you think you're going? The youth stopped in his tracks and turned his head to glare at Roy Mustang. Go find a way out of here, he protested sorrowfully. Got a problem with that? Can't go alone, protested Roy. It's too dangerous for a little kid like you. Little? Edward growled angrily. Not little, he shouted. Besides, I can take care of myself. Roy smirked. Sure you can, he said sarcastically as he gestured behind him, a great gaping chasm. Like the way you fell off the edge? I was impressed with the way you managed. Oh, no, wait, you were going to fall to death, weren't you? He frowned. What were you doing here alone, anyway? What happened to your parents? I don't have any parents, snapped Ed as he made his way across the road to the ruined house, split in half by a gigantic chasm. I told you, there's no way out of this town, said Roy sternly as he grabbed the youth by his shoulder. I checked. Bullshit! He shouted as he threw his hands clubbed hand on his shoulder. I came here today, he shouted, pointing to the right side that had fallen off. Down that road, straight for Risible. You telling me I walked over here over thin air? And whirled around. There has to be a way out here. He thought more quietly. I'm gonna find it. Roy said heavily. And I'm coming with you, he said sternly. I'm telling you, I can take care of myself, protested Edward angrily. Do you know your way around? Ed stopped in his tracks. He could vaguely remember the town of Silent Hill from 8 years ago. But there it was, he had to admit. A possibility the place had changed. In fact, he realized as he looked over at the ruined houses. Was it possible the place had changed? No. Though no designing the townsfolk itself. No, it was definitely the town had changed since this moment he set foot in it. Swiveling around on the spot. Do you? He asked Roy curiously. Roy smiled in response. They had come to yet another chasm, a great wiping wide chasm in the ground. This time, Edward could see to the other side. It was too far away to reach. He couldn't do anything. No way to cross. What's on the other side? Asked Edward curiously. Gordon King, replied Roy sternly. The local hospital. His hands clenched tightly as he glared across the chasm angrily. It's the only part of town I haven't been able to search yet. Ed remembered Gordon King. One day, before the vacation could come to an end, his mother had become ill. Remember how she collapsed by the lakeside for no apparent reason whatsoever. The very memory frightened him. He remembered running for help, leaving his little brother behind. He'd taken her to the hospital not long after that, and she stayed there for 2 weeks. He remembered visiting her with his brother. He thought how they brought her a bunch of beautiful flowers. The smile on her face. He could never forget the smile on her face. I think, whatever's going on, we can find the answers over there, continued Roy, not caring whether Ed heard him or not. Someone doesn't want us to leave, and they don't want us anywhere near that hospital. You think someone's behind all this? Asked Ed as he gestured to the chasm. Roy continued to stare through the mist. Someone has to be, he replied, and he turned and started to walk away. Hey! Cried Ed angrily, raced after Mustang. Where do you think you're going? He shouted as he caught up with the older man. I thought you said I could go off alone. You're not alone, are you? Responded Roy. Stick by me, you'll be fine. Ed's lips melted in a scowl. What, you mean like some kind of dog? He shouted angrily. That I follow you no matter what? How dare Roy think he would just follow him around like some kind of loyal? It wasn't like that. He wasn't such a defenseless little child. You saying all you had to do was whistle and come back to some good little dog? He wanted to hit Roy, plus living daylights out the black-haired man. You know what? Screw you! He turned and walked in the opposite direction. Edward, wait! He protested Roy. No, he wouldn't wait. He had enough of that man. Enough listening to that condescending voice. Enough of that man's condescending attitude. So what if he was a high-ranking soldier and a state alchemist? So what if the man was 15 years older? He didn't have to listen to that Roy Mustang. Gradually, his pace grew quicker. Broke out to a run, and kept running. He didn't look back. Behind the corner of the wall, he slipped against the cracked wall. His breath ragged, gazing up in the air the foreboding clouds that hung above him like the wrath of God's judgment. Find my own way out of this damned place, he murmured. Fuck him! Something approached out a distance. He could hear it coming. Got closer until the scream of sirens was in his ears. The sound was deafening. It felt so close as if he got into his head. He could feel it reverberating out of the skull. So painfully he felt it would burst. He clasped his head in his hands, gaining in agony as the siren shrieked in his skull. What's going on? He cried, Stop it! Screams echoed in the mist as the darkness swallowed him. This was a pretty good opening. And it had just about the right flair and horror, plus a little bit of creepiness and a little bit of interesting to the opening. My only problem is, I wonder if it wouldn't have been better if this fic did this when Ed was older and an adult. Back when he had already lost his arm and leg. This one made Roy seem far more important. Although, considering that Silent Hill's full of symbolism, I wonder if Roy showing up at this point would have been a good point. Although, personally, if we had used an adult Ed, we could have used some far more scary monsters. Monsters? They look like monsters to you? Moving on. See you next time.